morning. To celebrate oceans, I have Mr. Seahorse by Eric Carle. Mr. and Mrs. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea. Mrs. Seahorse began to wiggle and twist this way and that. "It's time for me to lay my eggs," she said. "Can I help?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Oh, yes, thank you," she said. And as she laid her eggs into a pouch on Mr. Seahorse's belly. "I'll take good care of our eggs," said Mr. Seahorse. "I promise." As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a group of trumpet fish hidden in a patch of reeds. Look at that. Can you see it camouflaged? I'm going to slowly turn this. There they are. There they are. Right over here. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Stickleback?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Oh, I'm delighted," he said. "I just built a nest, and right away Mrs. Stickleback laid her eggs into it. Now I am taking good care of them until they hatch." "Oh, keep up the good work," said Mr. Seahorse, and he swam on his way. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed by a lionfish hidden behind a coral reef. Here's the coral reef. Can you see them yet? There it is. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Tilapia?" asked Mr. Seahorse. Oh, Mr. Tilapia couldn't answer. His mouth was full of eggs. "Oh, I know," said Mr. Seahorse. "Mrs. Tilapia laid her eggs. Now you are taking good care of them until they hatch." Oh, Mr. Tilapia, with his mouth full of the eggs, he nodded. "You must be very happy," said Mr. Seahorse, and he swam on his way. Do you see how all different sea creatures, how they care for their children, how they care for their young, I should say, because they haven't even come out yet. They haven't hatched. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a pair of leaf fish hidden among the seaweed. Can you see them yet? Till I turn the page. Ah, there they are. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Curtis?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Perfectly fine," said Mr. Curtis. "Mrs. Curtis laid her eggs, and I have stuck them on my head. Now I am taking good care of them until they hatch." "You are doing a very good job," said Mr. Seahorse, and he swam away. Can you see right there? There are the fish collected right there on his head. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a stone fish hidden behind a rock. Can you see him yet? It's hidden. It's that big word we talk about by blending in. Actually, this one's not even, well, this picture is blended in. But if he's hidden behind the rock, he's just hiding. But when it blends in, it's that word camouflage. There we go. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Pipe?" he asked. "Couldn't be better," said Mr. Pipe. "Mrs. Pipe laid her eggs along my belly, and now I am taking good care of them until they hatch." "You should feel very proud of yourself," said Mr. Seahorse, and he swam on his way. There's those eggs right on the belly. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Bullhead?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Oh, I'm tip-top," he said. Mrs. Bullhead laid her eggs, and the eggs hatched. We haven't seen any eggs hatch yet, have we? Now I'm babysitting. "You're doing a fine job," he said, and he swam on his way. Look at that. Does your families have all of these children at once? The time had come for the seahorses' babies to be born. Mr. Seahorse wiggled and he twisted this way and that way, and at last the babies tumbled from Mr. Seahorse's pouch and swam away. One baby turned around and tried to come back to the pouch. "Oh, no, no, no," said Mr. Seahorse. "I do love you, but now you are ready to be on your own." Look at that. Very different than how humans are, right? We have to stay with our families for many, 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 many years before we go on our own. But for the seahorses, look at that. They are on their own. Underwater life is very different, very amazing, very magical. Thanks, friends. I will see you all again very soon. Bye.